House of the Devil, or Le Manoir du Diable, is a French 1896 short trick film created by Georges Méliès. This 3-minute black and white film has been labeled as one of the first depictions of the vampire, alongside being one of the first horror films. This definition is more honorary rather than practical, as the tone of this film is primarily spectacle and comedy, similar in the way that Army of Darkness is technically a horror movie. Movies would not have spoken synchronized dialogue until 30 years later, so these early films were pantomimed with exaggerated flourish and didn't commonly have intertitles, the flashcards between scenes featuring key dialogue and exposition, until a handful of years later. Until 1905, filmmaking was primarily independently created and dispersed, pursued only by the passionate and wealthy. Méliès, commonly abbreviated to Gio Méliès in his credits, was born into the wealth of his family's shoe factory in 1861. Throughout all his youth and life, he was known to have his head in the clouds and a persistent fascination for the arts in many forms. Later in life, he found himself enamored by stage magic and illusions, to which his legacy is dedicated to. He is credited as the primary founder of the trick film, alongside one of the first to use the method of storyboarding. These films utilize the extensive manual process of early filmmaking to depict magical effects, such as the instant transformations and teleportations. In House of the Devil, Méliès primarily uses the method of substitution splicing, or the instant changing of the scene between two shots. The scene would pause filming, any actors would hold place as workers changed the scene, and then the camera would be started again, producing an instant splice. Méliès used his connections and wealth to produce over 500 films within the span of just under 2 decades, all ranging from a single minute to over 40. House of the Devil is one of his first, while his most notable film, A Trip to the Moon, came 6 years later and had the length of 14 minutes. Most of the films by Méliès had been lost to time from a variety of factors, from natural degradation to the French army. Yes, I did not misspeak. During World War I, the French army confiscated many of Méliès's original prints and harvested the materials from them, such as silver and the celluloid film. House of the Devil for many decades was considered lost media alongside hundreds of Méliès's other films, until it was discovered in the New Zealand Film Archive in 1988. If it is the original print or a copy is unknown. As it was an early short film, it didn't have much in terms of plot, instead focusing on showcasing the magic capable of new film technology. The film was shot in Méliès's own garden, backdropped by painted scenery, featuring many costumes and handmade props. Towards the end of the film, you can even see an actor bump into the stage background. The film takes place in a medieval castle and features an assortment of main characters. While not given credits, a few have been plausibly identified, such as Méliès himself playing Mephistopheles and Johanne d'Alcy, his second wife, playing a young woman. Among them, a rather large cast is featured, from cavalier soldiers to witches and spirits. Plot-wise, the film starts with the devil conjuring various entities in a manner when two cavalrymen enter. One is scared off, while the other is toyed with and tormented through many tricks by the devil. Due to the sensitive and labor-intensive process of early film, post-film editing was a last resort or saved for feature-length films. Beyond what could be done with the camera, such as starting and stopping filming with the crank, the only way to actually edit film was to cut and glue the strips. The camera that Méliès used in the very beginning of his filmography was a Robert W. Paul animatograph projector that he transformed into a working camera, lovingly nicknamed both "coffee grinder" for the crank and "machine gun" for the intense noise. A few years later, Méliès forewent his device for the more standard models of the time, Pathé and Gaumont. Méliès truly was a one-man show, almost always the sole contributor to his products, from writer, actor, editor, and producer, under the moniker Star Film Company, founded by himself. He is known as being both the founder of the trick film as well as being cited for producing both the first horror and sci fi films, with House of the Devil and A Trip to the Moon, respectively. While relatively recent in terms of human history, the technical marvel of these movies and their early creative innovators paved the way to what modern filmmaking is today. A testament to Méliès's craft is that his techniques were still being used in films 50 years later, such as Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, one of my all-time personal favorites. And over a century later, horror comedy spectacles are still being produced and hailed. Méliès's legacy was just shy of tapping into the might of the budding film industry in the early 1900s, but he no doubt helped lay the foundation of one of the biggest industries in the modern age, birthing generational stories, artists, and fandoms.